you.
Helping these families organize these important medical documents to a digital platform that can also be accessed even if online. Now here are other links.
So there's a lot to be done here. We would also increase the efficiency of the medical system here consistently. That needs to be revamped a lot. And it will be based on the physics. Yes, so based on the physics. So you will actually have part of the physics is going to be.
So we have a mini casa that can be used by no-tech or no-tech support in a mobile application that they can gather. So technically we can onboard it with the morning, right?
Okay.
Yeah, for as long as they have the license with the central bank, so electronic payments, we can onboard it right away.
Okay, but then they have to have the license.
Yes,
which is rather complicated.
Yeah. So they were also
So do you help them to get the license as well?
Yes, ma'am. So part of our service is we standardize the forms, we turn them into templates to simplify the technical part so that the banks can get this submitted right away.
Well, I hope you're successful because it's strongly needed here in the Philippines.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So next we have the DeFi market. So our effective market will be and as densities, you have short density. So we want the densities to be on the app that you use it. So with the DeFi tracker, once you input something on your savings category, it will help you grow and rest of the virtual savings. And that's a big automated for cost densities. Next, aside from that, we also have the point tracking. So we have to go to, let's say, I want to save 10,000, but it's really hard to do. So what you want to do is break down in small steps so that it will go.
So currently we are working on what
So despite the high
So the headhunter for domestic.
It's like LinkedIn for white collar.
That's very good. So how are you going to be linked into the ID? Like you said, it's just a means to an end, right? It's not an end in itself, but it's just going to make everything go easier. Not forgetting the human part in mind, right? Many BSP presidents and different financial ministers. So it's been a very sort of good trip, and I think that I've spoken to many predecessors of yours in the World Economic Forum and also in other places, and ADB plays a very important part in all the regions that you're actually helping on the financial inclusion side, and I would really very much looking forward to have discussions on what is the work that still needs to be done on the financial inclusion journey, and what is still to come in terms of financial health looking forward. I think that this evolvement is very,
very good meetings with the Foreign Ministry as well as FMO, RBO, and so on, including with some private sector meetings, and met with also the Rotterdam Port Authority because we are working on a maritime decarbonization program. So there's a lot to learn, and the partnership with the Netherlands has been immensely high value adding for us at the ADB, particularly in the water sector, but also in some of the other areas. And Mr. Pram, who's on our board, he's been supporting a lot as well. On financial inclusion, I want to be totally humble because you know a lot more than what we do. You've been.
These are monetary board members.
Very important job. Your policies. Thank you so much. And of course, Her Excellency here, thank you so much for this amazing welcome, the lunch of course, but also the wonderful preparation for this trip. I would like to really say that because from all the people around us, you know, the preparation and the way that the BSP actually prepared this trip has been extremely good and very forthcoming and very proactive. So a special word of thanks in these regards. It's a great pleasure to be back in the Philippines, and I was really waiting for that moment. As you saw one of the pictures in 2015, that's 9 years ago. We were visiting pineapple growers, and this time we decided to go to the fisheries to see, you know, I mean, how much it had advanced. Back then we only talked about microfinance. Now we had, you know, people having cards in their phones and not having to pay $3 to get in the boat, plus a whole day to actually get their payments, to get, you know, whatever sort of payment the sort of son was actually sending, or actually making the payments to get some things done, or go even the health issues. They had health insurance like an HMO. They had accident insurance. They had life insurance. So this was not possible 9 years ago. So of course the number is 17 to 56%. This is a wonderful growth, and it's been greatly, partly due to your work. And like you said, you have been doing already really well. And so, but it's of course a lot more to do always. So I'm afraid you're never going to get rid of me very easily in the long term. So let's call this a long-term cooperation. So I think we've been, we were just having a lot of meetings also yesterday with the President, with Secretary and Open Finance, and shock or having an accident, or maybe a typhoon. And what actually makes me very happy that since my last visit in 2015, Filipinos have much more access to financial inclusion. Actually, their growth has been from 17% in 2015 to 56% 2 years ago. And I'm sure the number is actually even bigger when we actually make a new measurement. We've been speaking about a lot of things the last few days. First one was affordability of these services. And what I mean by that is most of these services are now being done not only by a branch in a bank, but actually on the mobile phone. And so being able to pay that service means that, you know, the payment has to be very, very low prices. And at the same time, we are depending on the connectivity. Do I have a connection? And is that connection affordable? We've also been speaking about these issues as well. We've also been speaking about the implementation of ID. Without an ID, I cannot open an account. So it's very important that every Filipino has an ID so that, you know, banks can actually open an account Otherwise, there's no way that we can actually make financial inclusion possible. We've also been talking about basically issues like interoperability of payments to increase competition. Without competition, there will be no innovation. And we need that innovation. We need that innovation to develop new types of insurance. We need that innovation to develop new types of credit for productive purposes. And we need that innovation to actually help every Filipino in their own reality know places where they are. So it's been very fruitful discussions. And again, let me thank above all the Bangko Sentral NG Pilipina for this amazing work and for preparing my visit so well that has led to many fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Very important that every Filipino has an ID so that banks can actually open that account. Otherwise, there's no way that we can actually make financial inclusion possible. We've also been talking about basically issues like interoperability of payments to increase competition to get access. But also the 57 today have much more usage. Some of them only use it for just the payments. They don't really use it to make real savings or having better access to other parts. So it's not only basically the whole access, but the depth and the breadth that we also need to cater. So it goes with it. And actually, I think what I would like every Filipino to have is to have a choice between different providers of insurance companies, different providers of payment companies, different providers of credit, and that enhance competition.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Governor. Thank you to the members of the press.
Also savings and insurance, and also productive credit. And this is the issue what the Governor just mentioned of financial health is very important. Now, what is financial health? Financial health is defined by 4 elements. One is your ability to make front to day-to-day expenses. Number 2 is to be able to have a long-term vision, and is education, is having a house, is retirement for your pension day, how you're going to cope not having an income after you turn 60, for example. Third, how do you make front in case of a shock? A shock can be sickness, can be also typhoon, can be also having an accident. And fourth, and that would be actually insurance or even long-term savings. And fourth, are you confident enough in order to juggle this financial life in the short term, medium, and the long term? And for that is everything this actually has budgeting tools, having knowledge to actually view how to sort of view and prepare for the future. All these issues will actually give you confidence. So we've been talking with the Governor about financial health is already included in the National Inclusion Strategy, but how do we measure it? And how do we measure it in terms of not only from a government perspective to all the Filipinos, but also every private sector member? How do they measure their clients so as to help them increase the savings? To help them having budgeting tools to see, okay, what are my monthly expenses? Am I spending too much in the clothing? Am I spending too little on savings? And to start helping and guiding the consumers and all the citizens in the Philippines to have actually better sort of financial lives. Having said that, in many parts of the Philippines, I don't even get with financial products, so I don't even think about having them financially healthy. So I have to get them first. And one of the things is we see that the cost of actually connectivity is still very high, and the quality of connectivity is not very good. So one of the messages to the government have been that connectivity is a very important item. We need to really go to the poorest and to the most distant places. We need to make a lot of investments jointly with the private sector to basically improve connectivity, the quality, the speed, but also reduce the prices. On the other hand, on top of that, on the back of that, that's how we're also going to make payments also more affordable for people. I'm not saying that everything should be given for free, because that's not realistic. We have to have a sustainable service that actually is being in place. But there's a lot of room to improve the pricing of a payment system, certainly from person to person and person to merchants. So yesterday I was, or the day before yesterday, I was visiting in Talim Island in Laguna Bay, and there was this fisherman, and he was telling me that now that he has connectivity and that he had an agent there that he can actually deposit and take money from his account, he said that is saving me so much time and money. I used to have to pay $3 to get into the boat to get us to the mainland. Then all the costs of the day that I had to spend there to make a payment and then come back. And now I can do it here. I can do it from my phone and I can do it here. So, and this is a whole day that I'm not, missing from all being on my family and being on my business. So basically money that I will be losing anyway. So this is the type of thing that we need to do. And it was really very nice. He was also saying to me that with the credit that he actually got, he had increased his income by 3 times in only 2 years. So this is the type of environment we want to see in the future. And we want to make this possible for many, many more Filipinos. We're now making possible 57% of Filipinos. We want to make this possible, hopefully, for 100% of all Filipinos.
Thanks, Your Majesty. I'll come back in case you have a follow-up later. We'll ask other questions first. Yes, please. Please introduce yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, Governor, and good afternoon, Your Majesty. I'm Mia Reyes from NMA Philippines. I understand that this advocacy is a pro-poor advocacy. And my question is, how can private and government sectors do to prosper financial inclusions? Thank you.
What we want is a vision. We know that financial inclusion is not only pro-growth but pro-poor. That means it actually helps people, like the example I just gave to you, to increase its income and to have, he also had health insurance, by the way, and he had also accident insurance. So if he gets into an accident while doing his job, his family is going to get the amount of days he couldn't actually get an income, or being able to pay the health bills. This is very important because it's not only getting out of poverty, but staying out of poverty. So maybe this man, he worked so hard to actually get his income on the investments, all the days that he spends in his company, but he has one accident and they have to sell everything to pay for his health. And then they start all over again, they go back into poverty. So it's not only, that's why this whole issue of financial health has to be encompassing. Is to help people, not only with the day-to-day finances increase their income, but also to protect their income sources and protect their livelihoods, along the time. So we know that financial inclusion is very important. Now, that's why it's not only focusing on just credit. That's why insurance is very important. That's why savings is very important. And it's not emergency savings, also long-term savings. We've actually been having a conversation with Peter about the pension, the possibility to have the long-term savings, so when you retire. These are issues that actually allow you sort of intergenerational sort of creation of wealth for all of Filipinos, not for just a few. So I would say that this is extremely important. But now, if you are telling me, so how does the private sector, together with the public sector, sort of organize this? Well, first of all, you have to have access to all these products. And how do you actually have access to these products? Today, the most efficient way is through your mobile phone, of course, and with agents, right? That you actually yourself, I'm sure, have access to. And that actually has been possible. If we actually had said, before, I have to put a value branch in every island here in the Philippines, more than 7,000 islands, nobody can pay for that. But by having this, we can actually make it possible. That means the connectivity has to be much more affordable and much better quality. Say that you actually send your mother some money, and in the middle of sending that money, the communication, the connectivity falls, and you don't know what happened with that money. Is it going to give you trust? So this quality of connectivity is also very important. So I think that's the first part in which private sector and public sector have to come in agreement of actually making an investment and actually reaching all the population with an affordable connection system. And then, until that comes the banks and all the financial service providers that would actually, on that connectivity, will build up that provision of financial services to you. Also, that has to be the right price. Also, that has to be not only for payments, it also has to be how to help you save better. What are your desires? What are your needs? How do I help you actually sort of go through the whole month of actually making ends meet. Because you maybe get a salary every month, but most of the Filipinos actually are informal workers, and they get every maybe 20 days some money, but they have expenses going all the time. So how do I bridge that? So how do I help the people? So I think the private sector has a lot to do in terms of redesigning products as to match the needs of the customers. And having this constant dialogue and learning from each other will be extremely important in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Third question.
Good afternoon, Your Majesty. Good afternoon, Governor. Ricardo Flores of Reuters. Your Majesty, how has global inflation and tighter monetary policy and higher borrowing costs derailed or slowed efforts to deepen access to financial services? And what efforts do you think are needed to get it back on track? And also on artificial intelligence.
So I didn't understand the last part?
What efforts are needed to get efforts to deepen access to finance to be back on track? And also on artificial intelligence, I think you've mentioned in past speeches that AI has benefits, but it also could further exclude people rather than widen financial inclusion. So how would you assess government's efforts of central banks and other regulators to make sure that the benefits of AI are felt by those at the margins?
Well, I think that part of the response, certainly on the macroeconomic side, could be responded by you. If you have very high inflation, saving in your own currency will be, not very sustainable. So, whatever we do, a stable macroeconomic policy is extremely important. And at the same time, the central bank and the monetary policy has to be there to actually stabilize the macroeconomic situation. So. Definitely there's incentives and disincentives to save, to borrow, and all these things, but I would say that, in general, we still be in a stable macroeconomic environment for financial inclusion and financial help to thrive, that's for sure. On the issue of AI, and I would like to extend that to anything being digital. Like I said, digital has actually given us the opportunity to actually reach much more people in a much more affordable way. So what happens is before, like I said before, any bank building a brick and mortar branch and sending agents to sort of in a place where not many people live, it was just not affordable for anybody, not even a state bank. So digitalization has given us the opportunity to actually have a bank branch in your home. In the palm of your hands. That's great. That's amazing. Now it also has every type of benefit has also its risks, and the risks are that for example, if you are not digitally literate, you're going to be excluded. If you don't have connectivity, you're also going to be excluded. If you cannot afford a smartphone, you're also going to be excluded. So. Of course, there's less exclusion than before, because of course we now have, still 40% of the Filipinos are excluded, and before it was 80%, so it has actually helped us. But I think we have to be mindful that every benefit has its risk, and we have to sort of think about it. In terms of AI, even going deeper into it, so what AI does is looking at algorithms, mostly of the past. So in the past, you've been looking at, how some, people in Manila do their business, because those have been, the clients in the past. They would not be able to translate that into a fisherman or, somebody doing some, agriculture very far away from Manila. Their reality is going to be different, and it might actually not give the right sort of offerings to the people. In that sense, those are also the risks. So we need to also be very mindful whether we actually use AI and algorithms to ask the right questions. So I think there are ways to go around it, but we have to be very mindful about it. And there's also other issues in terms of risks. We were talking about open finance. Open finance is the possibility that that you have today. You have all your data in silos. You know, a bank has a part of your data. Google has a part of your data. It's your data. And with open finance, you would actually have access to that data to actually maybe have a better offering for a mortgage house credit. Now, it's still your data, and nobody can misuse it. So the usage of data also needs a lot of thinking and a lot of safety and having standards on how we exchange data. And I take this very, very seriously because it's about trust. And it's about, you gotta have trust in the system, it will never work. So in a nutshell, every benefit has its risk, and the risks have to be basically measured and actually, regulated. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Governor, would you like to comment on McCaff's question about the effect of inflation and financial inclusion, or what the Queen said about digital?
Let me just say, inflation is bad. For financial inclusion, it's bad for financial health. You want stable prices to do a lot of work. But let me add to what Her Majesty said about open finance. It is a new concept in the Philippines, especially that open finance means there is a platform or what we call an API.
This is Keisha Baasan from the Philippine Star. My question is for the Governor. Her Majesty earlier said that 70% is not 100%. So do you think it's possible to have 100% of all Filipino adults to be onboarded into the formal financial system? Do you think this is possible during your term? And what are the challenges that we may face?
There's homework and there's deadline.